So in this section, there's a couple of general rules that we should talk about before we just start doing the problem. Here's one of them. It's a multiplication rule. It says if we have the nth root of a, and we're going to multiply it by the nth root of b. Now, as long as these indexes are the same, we can just multiply right under the radicals, the nth root of a times b. And quite often, we're going to use this rule backwards. If we have the nth root of some product, a times b, we can break that up into the nth root of a times the nth root of b. So all we're doing here is that if we have a multiplication, we can multiply under the radicals. If we have a radical of a product, we can break that radical into two separate factors. And this also works for division. So if we have, say we have the nth root of a, and we're going to divide it by the nth root of b, as long as these indexes are the same, we can divide right under the radical, the nth root of a divided by b. And quite often we're going to use it the other direction. If we have the nth root of a fraction like this, we can break this up into the nth root of the top divided by the nth root of the bottom. So let's give this number 9 a try. What we've got here is the square root of 6 times the square root of 6. Now they're both the square roots, so what we can do is we can multiply, if we like, right under those radicals, square root of 6 times 6, giving the square root of 36, which we know to be 6. So we can simplify this a little bit by knowing this. If we take the square root of 6, multiply it by itself, we're just going to get 6. And what we're saying here is this, from what we did in the last section. Okay, let's circle that. We could think of it this way. Square root of 6 times square root of 6, we could say that's the square root of 6 squared. And now what we're doing is we start with 6, we square root it, and then we square it. So where are we? We're right back where we started. Now here in number 11, we're going to take the square root of 12 times the square root of 3. Now, let's see. Here's what we could do. They're both square roots, so why don't we just multiply right under that radical, square root of 12 times 3. Square root of 12 times 3 is 36, and the square root of 36 is 6. So if we have a square root of 12, and we multiply it by square root of 3, that's the same as saying 6. Or we could even say it this way, as a count. If we've got the square root of 12 of these things, how many of these square roots of 3 do we have? We have square roots of 12 of them. Well, that turns out to be 6. And in number 13, we're going to multiply square root of 7 and the square root of 2 together. So they're both square roots, so we can multiply right under that radical, getting square root of 7 times 2, which we could probably just do in our head. And we'll get the square root of 14, and I don't think we can do anything with that. So we're done. And here in number 19, we're going to take a cube root of 5 multiplied by the cube root of 3. Now, because they're both cube roots, let's just go over here. Here, we're actually using this one here, right? We'll have like the cube root of 5 times the cube root of 3. So we're going to get the cube root of 5 times 3. We can write that. Cube root of 5 times 3, which is going to give us the cube root of 15. And here in number 29, we've got the square root of 81 over 121. Now I'm going to go down here on the left. Just follow along here. What I've got is this one right here, right? I've got the nth root of a quotient. We have the square root of 81 over 121. So I can break this up into the square root of the top, square root of 81, over the square root of the bottom, square root of 121. So let's write that here. We can break this up into the square root of 81 over the square root of 121. Square root of 81 gives us 9. Square root of 121 turns out to be 11. And in 31, we've got the square root of a quotient, as we did in 29. So let's break this up into the square root of the top over the square root of the bottom. Square root of 11, I think we can't do anything with that. 11's prime, we can't break that down, but square root of 49, well, that's a 7.